In this chapter, we learned what researchers agree upon pertaining to development. It is systematic and successive change over time. However, theories of development differ from there. Some theories suggest a more streamlined, one dimensional approach to development, such as nature versus nurture. Other theories, such as developmental systems approach, suggest that development is multifaceted, with multiple factors all interacting continuously. Think nature and nurture. These theories emphasize the necessity of an interdisciplinary approach, requiring us to consider different areas of study, for example, not only biology, but sociology as well, that can affect child development. There are two main theories we discussed that show an interdisciplinary approach: Bronfenbrenner's bioecological approach and Gottlieb's probabilistic epigenesis model. Bronfenbrenner's bioecological approach suggests that biologically influenced predispositions interact with environmental influences to really impact development. Bronfenbrenner breaks down environmental influences down into five subsystems, ranging from the child's immediate surroundings to more broad, indirect, and worldly influences. The microsystem is the first one, and this is the child's most immediate and direct environment, such as family, neighborhood, school, and daycare. This environment is closest to the child and affects them directly as they are directly a part of it. The mesosystem is the second environmental influence subsystem, and it involves all the connections between the different parts of the microsystem. An example would be parents, teachers, sport coaches, or therapists collaborating to mutually benefit from the information exchanged. The third system is the exosystem. This involves social settings that do not directly involve the child, but still indirectly affect the child. For example, a parent is likely to bring home added stress from a challenging or unfulfilling job, or an older sibling's social circle activities could affect the household and therefore indirectly affect the child. The macro system zooms out even further from the child's immediate impacts, involving the culture, values, or the laws of the nature or the country in which the child lives. These could all impact what opportunities are available to the child or their family and affect how the family lives and develops. Finally, the chronosystem involves the influence time has on the other subsystems. A change of life event, such as moving, divorce, or even a pandemic such as COVID-19, is likely to affect a child early in development differently than it affects a preteen or an older teenager. Bronfenbrenner's theory requires an interdisciplinary approach as it combines much consideration of the environmental factors at different levels, as well as biological dispositions to understand a child's development. It also requires us to delve deeper into different disciplines for each environmental subsystem. Sociology can help us to understand the cultures and the laws present in different parts of the world where a child may be living. Psychology can help us to understand how social circles of others can impact those around us. Biology and neurology can help us understand how a child's brain develops and biological dispositions at certain ages or parts of their life, and how they may be impacted in different ways by life changing events. This can be applied looking into how COVID-19 impacted different individuals in different ways and in different areas of the world. Let's say we have a child who was 4 years old in 2019, half a year before they start kindergarten, living in Connecticut in the United States. We can look first at the individual's microsystem. They may or may not have had direct social interactions outside the family, depending on their neighborhood if there were any other children nearby. The child's mesosystem would also not have been as broad if the child's schools, sports, or therapy were not open during that time. Depending on if the parents or any other close family members were still going out or still going to work, this could impact the child in different ways as well. For example, if a family member is depressed from not being social, not talking to others, this could impact the child. Or if a family member is an essential worker and stressed about work or illness or just not being around, this could impact the child. The macro system in Connecticut, USA at the time involved the government shutting down many major operations and workplaces, including in person schools. This absolutely could have had an effect on that 4 year old staying at home, not getting that socialization from school or a daycare. Finally, let's consider the Chrono system. The time of COVID could have affected this child in one way at the age of 4 year olds, 4 years, than it would have if the child was 16 years of age at the time and in a different place in life. We would need to do a case study and look at all the areas of the child's life at the time of COVID happening, their sociology, their biology and growth at the time, their neurology at that time, etc. Economics could come into play as well. With many workplaces being shut down and pay being less for parents, that could have affected the child and the family's way of life. Prices of consumables and items such as toilet paper increasing could have impacted the family's ability to access different things at that time. The second theory discussed Gottlieb's probabilistic epigenesis model. This model describes how genetic and neural activity, behavior, and environment are all related in a bidirectional fashion. That is to say, the effect of one activity to another goes in both directions. Broken down, epigenesis refers to change occurring in genetic expression due to environmental influences. Adding this term to probabilistic, this theory suggests that different interactions between genetics and environments can impact the probability of development in one direction or another. The first word in Gottlieb's model is probabilistic. The discipline of mathematics, specifically statistics, comes into play here. What is the probability of X impacting Y and in what way? The second word is epigenesis. This word, in and of itself, is interdisciplinary, talking about genetic expression changing due to environmental factors. As is the case with Bronfenbrenner's theory, when we look at environmental factors, we need to take an interdisciplinary approach due to the different facets of the environment: economics, sociology, psychology, etc. We cannot understand Gottlieb's theory without considering statistics, genetics, economics, sociology, psychology, and any other disciplines that are a part of environment. The disciplines all interact with one another to impact one's development. An example we could consider would be to look at how a pro athlete grew up. Was there more exposure to physical activities, exercise, and group games or sports? Maybe the child's social circle and or family involved lots of physical activity and exercise. Were the child's parents able to pay for them to be in a sport extracurricular? Perhaps if there were no sport extracurricular options available to the child early on in school or in their neighborhood, they may not have become a pro athlete. The more exposure the child had, both socially and economically, to an activity, it could be argued they would be more likely to end up engaging in an activity in the future or have the traits to engage, such as more active. In summary, this first chapter introduced what it means to be interdisciplinary approach and why this type of approach is an important one for discussing development. We discussed multiple theories that are interdisciplinary and how those different theories can be used in a practical way that's meaningful to our everyday lives.